The world kept changing in 2022, and so did the media and its reactions to those changes. After 2 years, the COVID-19 pandemic finally slowed down, while the rest of the world seemed to move a bit faster. We take a look at some of the events that are likely to continue to impact journalism into the future. Protests in Iran. Iranian women took to the streets to protest the decades-old rule of having to wear headscarves or hijab while fighting for basic human rights. The country's media censorship practices placed limits on what reports could be corroborated and verified, which is why social media played a vital role on covering the protests. It all started after the death in custody of 22-year-old Kurdish Iranian student Zina Mahsa Amini. She had been arrested by the so-called Iranian morality police for allegedly breaching the strict laws on wearing hijab.
A revolution is happening. To me and to millions of Iranians, this is a revolution which being led by women, supported by men, and it is a tipping point for the Islamic Republic. To me, compulsory hijab is like the Berlin Wall. If we tear this wall down, the Islamic Republic won't exist.
More than 70 journalists have been detained or arrested since the killing of Amini, according to the New York-based Committee to Protect Journalists. Iran ranks 178th in the Press Freedom Index, just above Eritrea and North Korea. Killing of journalists. The world was in shock when senior Al Jazeera correspondent Shireen Abu Akleh was shot dead while covering an Israeli operation in the West Bank last May. Her family and her employer claim that the journalist was deliberately targeted by Israeli forces for her Palestinian background, which the Israeli government staunchly denies. The family of the slain journalist are now moving the case to the International Criminal Court.
We are hopeful that justice will prevail, and that is only possible when there's an independent investigation and when the ICC carries out this investigation to hold the perpetrators accountable.
However, Abu Akleh was by far not the only murdered journalist in 2022. More than 60 journalists were killed during the year, according to Reporters Without Borders. The Twitter purchase. Reporting on one of the biggest media deals in recent history also kept journalists busy in 2022. That is Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter. The social media channel is still considered one of the major platforms for modern-day journalism. But for how much longer?
For journalism, for universities, for companies, for individuals engaged in simply personal conversations and interaction, it has so greatly become a central part of the nervous system of these relationships that its failure to perform effectively is a matter of broad social concern.
Turkey's media bill. The Turkish government has adopted a controversial new law. It stipulates that journalists can be jailed for up to 3 years for spreading disinformation. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's ruling party says that the law is needed to tackle fake news and false accusations, especially on social media. But critics say that it will be used to silence the opposition.
Sosyal medyada eleştirel paylaşımlar dezenformasyon olarak suçlanabilecek. Yalan haberi yapanın yanı sıra yayan ifadesi getirilerek demokrasiyi ve ifade özgürlüğü ilkesini temelinden sarsıp çökertecek pek çok uygulamayla karşı karşıya kalacağız.
Turkey has already jailed dozens of journalists since the failed coup of 2016. That's partly why the country also has a poor press freedom record, ranking 149th out of 180 countries, according to the Press Freedom Index. The EU Press Freedom Act. In contrast, the EU has introduced a new law to ensure media freedom across European countries. The bill is designed to counteract political interference in media outlets, to prevent spying on journalists, and to guarantee transparent and non-discriminatory government advertising standards.
For the first time in the EU law, we are presenting safeguards to protect the editorial independence of the media. State should not interfere in editorial decisions. No public service media should become a propaganda channel of one party.
The impact of the law remains to be seen, as standards in media freedom vary greatly across Europe. On the one side, there are countries like Norway, Denmark, and Sweden, topping the Press Freedom Index as champions of media freedom. However, countries like Hungary, Poland, and Slovenia are also part of the bloc, with their limitations on free speech causing rising concern among human rights groups.